So we're going to go through adding and subtracting of integers. So we have 2 questions to start. And we'll add 2 more as we go along. The reason we learn this in the order of multiplication and division first is because when we get questions like this where we have 2 operations side by side and really no value in between them, it can be confusing to what the question's asking us. What I wanted you guys to know is the rules for multiplying and dividing. So for instance, when we multiply a positive by a positive, what do we get? Yeah. What about 2 negatives? That's right, good. And what about if they're opposite signs? That's right, good. Okay, those rules will help us simplify the questions. You talk faster than I write, I apologize. So, we have 2 operations here, a positive and a negative sign. No value in between. I want to simplify this question so it is easier for me to read. I'm going to use these rules here to turn these 2 operations into 1 operation. So if I have a positive and a negative, that's kind of the third instance here. What can I simplify that into? 5 minus 2. So we turn that into a subtraction sign, and we just bring down the values. I have the value of 5 and the value of 2. Now, since this is technically integers, I know many of you know this off the top of your head, but you might get into questions where you have negative values that are unclear. I'm going to show you how we can make a number line to help solve this question. When we use a number line to solve something, we take the first value. So I have the value of 5, and then I follow what the operation is. A negative sign means we'd be moving to the left or in a negative direction. Okay? Very similar to XY axis. So if I'm at the value of 5, and I have to move to the left of 5, well, to the left of 5 would be 4, and then 3, then 2, then 1. Imagine we're on the x-axis here, okay? We would start at 5, and we just go back 2 values. Now, I know that seems very remedial for this one, but it may help us in the second one here. So our answer in this question, 5 minus 2 is? Got it. Okay? So it's a very simple question, but we can use many tools to help us solve this. Second question. We have negative 8, and then again we have 2 operations beside each other. They're in a different order. Before it was a positive, then a negative. This one's a negative, then a positive. Is that going to change what they simplify into? What are they going to be? Negative. Oh, got to fix that. I just combine the 2 into a negative, and we bring down the values. Now, because this is a negative 8, I have to bring down the value of negative 8. And we've already simplified the operations in front of 3, so I'm just bringing down the value of 3. We have to keep that in mind when we do this. So now I have negative 8 minus 3. You might be able to do it off the top of your head, but if you can't, we can again use a number line to help us. Now this number line, we have to do a little more thinking for. We start at the value of negative 8, and because it's negative again, that means we're going to be going to the left. So I'm going to start with negative 8 as far right as possible. I have my negative 8. To the left of negative 8 on the number line. Anyone know what the next number would be? Negative 9. That's right. It's increasing at this point. Okay? That's right. Though we've done this before, it's not as easy as we remember. So, negative 8, we're moving to the left 3 units. We go over 1, 2, 3. Our answer in this question is negative 11. Okay? Let's go through 2 more examples. Our next example here, let's say we have, actually we'll use these values again. 5, subtract negative 2. Okay. Same idea here. We have 2 operations beside each other, no values. 2 negatives can simplify into what? Positive. Okay, so really what this question is asking us is what is 5 plus 2. I'm not going to make a number line for that one. I think we can do it. Anyone know? Saturday. Good. And then I'm going to do another question. Let's say we have 5 plus positive 2. Okay? Same idea. 2 operations. How can we simplify the 2 positive signs? So essentially, these 2 questions, though written very differently, are asking the exact same thing. Okay? They're both asking us for 5 plus 2. Oops, sorry. And we end up with 7 in that one. That's pretty much every instance or every example, different example we need to know for adding and subtracting it. Let's go into a more difficult type question. So if we have something written like this, we have 2 operations with no value, and then 2 operations again with no value. So if it's a more complex question, we're going to simplify both of these. Two negatives give us what? Positive. So now we're left with 8 plus 8 plus negative 3. We'll simplify one at a time.
13.
Okay? And in this one here, what do those become? That's right, a negative. So now we're left with 8 plus 8 minus 3. I'll write it all in black because that one looks a little funny there. So we have 8 plus 8 minus 3. Now this is a much simpler question to work with. We have our two 8s. Together are 16. When we subtract 3, our answer is 13. So from a very complex question, we simplified it so that it's something that we recognize and are able to solve.